As prizes for a contest, my sister wants monocles that look like gold, silver, and bronze. Medallions, basically. And it's to match a theme that she has for a particular contest. She does a cooking contest every year at a party. So I volunteered, because we couldn't find anything quite like we were looking for, even online, to go ahead and make these out of, it's going to be aluminum bronze for the gold, and then pewter for the silver, and copper for the bronze metal. And so I'm using an olivine casting sand, a black casting sand, and pieces of foam that I've cut out to do some lost foam casting. And I got out a bunch of copper scrap pipe that I'm starting with here, and a foundry that I built myself out of an air tank, some plumbing parts, gas fittings, ceramic insulating wool, and some refractory liner. And really, it only took about 10 minutes or so to melt that crucible full of copper. You can see my lifting tongs there from a previous video. I'm going to use those not just to lift the crucible out, but also to use it to pour, because I've not yet made a set of tongs specifically made for pouring the crucibles. And we'll go ahead and pour it into our casting sand that's in our high-tech flask that's just a can out of the recycling bin. You can see the foam just burns away as the metal sinks into the sand. And I cut off both sides of the can, top and bottom, so that I'm able to knock the sand and the casting right out of it, with a few minor dents to the can. And that's my first time casting copper. So I decided that the pattern didn't need to be real exact. I wanted to use the lost foam, so it's going to be really rough and take a lot of cleanup. This is casting the aluminum bronze right after the copper, basically. Well, about 20 minutes after the copper. And the extra got poured into a little ingot mold that I welded together real quick to catch the extra. And same as with the copper, knock it out of the can, knock as much of the sand off as possible, and go ahead and quench it in some water, cool it off. You can see a nice gold tone there on that end of that casting. So then I go into the lengthy process of cutting the sprue off and grinding it down until I get smooth metal, because again the foam left a real rough surface. But I'd rather leave a rough surface with a lot of extra material than to have a mold that was made exactly to size that didn't fill out, and then I have to make a new mold. The other option, I could have used lost wax in a plaster investment, but the problem with that is it takes several days to set up a mold, and if I had a failure, well, then I would have to go back and start again and do 2 or 3 days worth of getting everything set up, whereas this only took about 15-20 minutes to set up another mold if I needed to. So there was a lot of grinding and polishing and sanding and more polishing before I finally got to where I was happy with it. I took a silicone mat here and some plasticine clay and kind of stuck those down to the mat. And now I'm mixing up some clear casting resin. It's a Lumelite clear that I'm using here. And I probably should have cast this and put it in a pressure pot to get it absolutely as clear as possible. But as long as you mix it really well and get it measured real even, it comes out pretty clear. And I'm taking a heat gun to it real quick just to pop the bubbles on top. Now where it was against the silicone mat, it had kind of a rougher surface, so that needed to be polished up. And I actually found a kit at the local hardware store that was for polishing headlights on cars. It's for polishing plastic that I used to do that. And then finish it off, I just put some leather lace on there and tied it up. So that's our trophies for a cooking contest. If you really want a weird project, you can always count on family to come up with them for you.